Good. This is the s- oh, yeah, I always get confused here at the start when we go live. So this is the 12GPT Scout presentation. I'm David Sumpter. I'm Professor of Applied Mathematics and author of the book Stockomatics, and also co-founder of the company 12 Football. And we do loads of things with different football clubs, helping them with different aspects of data science, mathematical modeling, football analytics, and so on. But what we thought we'd do, because it's a, well, just sort of Friday evening activity, we thought we'd show you our fun latest, latest addition to the 12 arsenal of football analytics tools. And that is 12GPT. So I'm going to go through a little presentation, but first I'm going to introduce you to the team, the two people who've been very actively working the last few months producing this thing. And the first of them is August. Do you want to say hello and a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi all, I'm August. I come from Iceland and I've been working with 12 now for a few months. I have did my thesis with David earlier in this year, where I finished my master's program in sports technology. And since I started working with them in the summer, I've been doing various projects, including this very interesting one with the 12GPT.
Yeah, cool. And then Matthias, who's been doing a lot of the development. Do you want to say a few words about yourself, Matthias?
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm Matthias Green. So I've been studying computer science and I'm taking a gap year right now to work with 12. So I've been with the team for a couple of months and same as August, I've been working on a few projects.
Good. And right, so what I'll do is I'll start by presenting myself. August has pointed out that my name is wrong. It says David Sumpter. I'm actually David Sumpter. So that's good that you pointed that out. I had to change it from Marcus's because this was his. But right, I'll get started and I'll share my screen and tell you a little bit of background. And yeah, this is, before we actually get into the thing itself, I will give a little presentation. So what is 12GPT? Well, what we're going to see tonight is we're going to look at 12GPT Scout, which is a scouting tool. But 12GPT is a bit more than that. It's a language model for talking about football. And so it can be a scout, it can be an analyst, it can be a commentator, it can be all of those things and anything else. It could be a fan who's talking about football. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, what is 12GPT? Well, it's both words and visuals. So we, for a long time, have been specializing in developing and delivering powerful visuals which describe what's happening on the pitch and describe things about players. And so 12GPT is a tool to turn football data, which you get from many different data providers, into easy to understand words and visuals. It uses a customized language model in order to understand the game. Well, what can it do? Well, the important thing that it can do is it can write scout reports, it can summarize matches, and it can even provide a running commentary of what's going on in the pitch and describe the action on the pitch. And then how do we then use that? Well, what we can do from this, the 12GPT language model, we can provide a platform, and we're going to look at the scouting platform now. We can write reports. So if you want to report on a player, we can automatically generate both the words and the visuals for that report. Or also, if often the clubs we work with want to access our API, so they can send in data and then we can send out the words which describe that data. So there's various ways in which you can access and use this technology. It's not just the scouting tool that we're going to see now. But tonight we are going to have a look at the 12GPT Scout. So to showcase 12GPT, we've created a Scout chatbot. And over here is an example of what it looks like. This was one that we put out on Twitter. We had a request line on Monday evening, and we put this one. This was one of the ones that was asked for. And we had a look at McAllister. And so this one just allows you to write a short scouting report based on various variables which describe the ability of a player, and then it compares them relative to other players in the league. So it always compares them to other players in the league. And then the next natural question is, well, can I talk to 12GPT Scout? And the answer to that one is yes. We're going to be talking to 12GPT Scout tonight. And I very much encourage you. What? I shouldn't have pressed. Oh, sorry. We're going to compare to other players. Now I'm going back in time. Sorry. So yes, you can ask questions to 12GPT tonight. That's why I just looked into the chat, and that's why it started playing there. But you can ask some questions, and if you want to put questions into the chat, both about how it works, and also if you want us to scout some players tonight, please put that in, and we can have a look at that. So yeah, this is an example of when it's describing this. So on the previous slide, it said that McAllister was a standout defender. So I write in this, you say that he is a standout defender. Can you explain why you think that? And then it drills down on the statistics which describe why he's a standout defender. Can I have access today? Now that's the next question. And the answer, well, maybe the answer to today is no, but you can have access next week. So we've released a demo version of 12GPT Scout. If you're a club or a football organization, you can sign up for a trial. Just send us an email at hello@12.football. I think if you're a journalist, we'd be happy to help you out there. And over the coming weeks, we're going to extend the functionality of the 12GPT, the Scout part of it, and we'd really like your feedback so we can incorporate various things. So if you would like to have access to it already now, please feel free to send us a message, and we will give you some access to it. So why is this important? Well, it's important because football is really talked about in words a lot. And anybody who's been following football analytics will know there's all these lovely visuals of pitches and, passes and most important passes, expected goal maps, all of that type of thing. But when you interact with people in football, they want to talk about it, not just have visuals presented to them. And so what we can do is, every team will have some sort of data analysis now. What we can do is we can adapt the data analysis being done and provide tools which talk about these things in words. And so we're already working with one club where we're delivering words which describe their performance on match day. Another club we're starting to build up around scouting, where we are looking at the qualities, the categories they're interested in players, and building up metrics around them. And in the process of building up what they would like to look at scouting, we're also creating the words and the descriptions of the players around that. And this really helps for the communication within football clubs, because in the end, it's talking to each other that's important in describing how we feel about players. So 12GPT allows us to adapt to the different needs within football clubs and allows them to communicate in words. So it's a technology rather than just an interactive scout that we'll look at tonight. And one thing that's really nice is you can actually train 12GPT to speak the football language that you use. So if you talk to it, it will start to learn the language that you use. And that's a big part of how we work. We tune the language to the application. For example, when you're doing a match report for a team, you don't want to have language which says that they were rubbish at the end of the day. You want to have kind of neutral language which describes what happened on the pitch. When you're doing a commentator, you want to have more exciting language, of course. And when you're doing a scout, you want to have something in between. You want to have engaging language, which talks about the players. But it can't just be factual. So it can't just be boring numbers is what I mean by, it should be factual, but it can't just be boring numbers. As I said at the start, we provide a range of 12GPT services. So you can have a platform like we're going to talk with the scouting platform, reports, access to the API. 12GPT works with all football data providers. I've listed a few of them today there. If you're interested, you can contact us today on the email for any more details. Good, that's the main presentation over, and now I'll get into the Scout itself. What is shown here, so this is different clubs, of course, so you can scout anywhere in the world, essentially, male and female, of course. So I have to start off with the Premier League because these are the players that most of us are familiar with, and I can go down and I can take a player, Declan Rice, press summarize player, and takes a little bit of thinking time, but then it comes up with a description. So it says, Declan Rice is a complete midfielder who excels in both defense and attack. He is a strong presence in the middle of the pitch, involved in a lot of touches and creating a lot of playmaking passes. He is a reliable passer with a high number of passes into the final third. Rice is a smart defender with good positioning and anticipation and is able to win a lot of possessions. He is a valuable provider for his teammates with a good number of second assists per 90. While he is not the most threatening player in the box, he is still an average contributor to his team's attack. Overall, Rice is an excellent midfielder who can make a difference both in defense and attack. So how is this built up? Well, the structure of this is we want to summarize the player. So we first have a kind of overall summary of the player. Then we get into the details, and the details refer to this chart here, and you can see how Rice compares to the rest of the league. So this is his involvement, his progression of the ball. So involvement, he's 8th. Progression, he's 13 out of 114. And you can see he's a bit lower on providing for teammate and box threat. And you actually saw that in the way the text came out. And then again, he's very well ranked in active defense and intelligent defense. And all of those attributes then are described in the text and summarized in the text. And I think I felt, because I'm from more of an analytics background, and I felt that presenting a chart like this is always very clear, but often people would like to see it in words and they grasp it more firmly when it's explained to them in this way. So you have two ways of communicating when you do it this way. You have both the words and you have the visual description. We've basically put the radars in here now because I think many other, the radars are kind of more familiar to many people, but at 12, we prefer these, what we call distribution plots, because they give a better idea of the spread of the players. This is the best player in the league. This is the worst player in the league. And then you can see how Declan Rice compares. So although he's good, there is someone out there who's got this exceptionally high value there. So before I go any further, what I wanted to do was ask August if you could explain a little bit about the metrics involved in this.
Yes, of course. So
can you do it on my screen, or do you want to go onto your screen?
It is fine if you just stay there, I think. Or
yeah,
no?
I'll make that bigger so you can say something about the individual metrics.
Yeah, sure. So behind the Scout, there is dozens of metrics. And what we have done is we've tried to take them all together to create a more descriptive qualities of the players, dependent of their positions. So for midfielders, David has like listed up the metrics. But if I go a bit deeper into each one of them, then involvement, the top one there, it describes how involved a player is in the game. So this includes how many touches they have on the ball, their defensive actions, and also aerial duels. If I take the next one there, progression, as the name indicates, it tells you how good the player is in moving the ball forward, whether that is running with the ball or passing it. I could go like this through all of them, but maybe, David, you can write in the chat as well to have it a bit more interactive. You're muted, David.
Yeah, I muted myself. Great. Okay,
so could you just...
you were on progression. So if like we say something like this, how do we measure passing quality? Then this actually gives you a breakdown of how passing quality is measured. So passing quality is measured, and it also gives, so it both gives you an idea of why it's measured in the way it is, but then it breaks down into specific measures. We use an expected threat measure, which measures the quality of a particular pass. And so we look at their players in passes, their crosses, their passes into the final third, and the passes in the final third, and also creative passes. And this tells you the weights that we use to construct the final metric. And then we can say, well, can you show me passing quality for Rice? And it actually drills down on those things and starts to tell us what Declan Rice's qualities are. So he's an outstanding passer of the ball, particularly in terms of accuracy and ability to find his teammates. So this would be these two types of passes. However, he's only average when it comes to crossing and creating chances for his teammates. So then it's describing this part. So we can both ask it questions about how we measure things, and then we can look at particular players and the details of that particular player.
Yes,
if I take
exactly.
Yep,
maybe you can go one step further, David. Like you have the metrics there, but maybe you're not sure what the metric is measuring. So if you would ask it, what is creative passes, for example, then it can even tell you.
Exactly. What is creative passes, or what are creative passes? It doesn't bother about grammar so much. It gets it right. So creative passes is a metric used to measure a player's passing quality. It's defined as the number of assists, key passes, shot assists, and second assists adjusted by possession. However, there is no information. Well, I think there is information right on Declan Rice's thing. So you can actually see that information. It gets a few things a little bit mixed up. But it has all of those information in the pictures, for example. Let's have a look to see if anybody has asked us. All right, okay. There's a question here before I go on. Maybe Mateus 11v11 soccer would like to know a little bit about the background to the model, fine-tuning text, in context learning, and so on. Maybe you could say a little bit about that, Mateus.
Yes, I can talk about that. Yeah. So right now we don't have any actual fine-tuned model implemented. That is planned for the future. So currently we combine basically very smart prompting and an embedding model for answering questions. So for example, for the initial summary of a player, what we essentially do is just from the numbers you can see in the distribution plot, we basically generate, so just through not a simple code, not through GPT or anything, we generate a quite mundane description of the player's qualities. And so then we basically send that to GPT in order to rephrase it in a way that's more exciting. So our prompt, for example, includes previous examples that we did manually, so that the results would be better. And yes, so next, for answering questions, essentially what happens is we take the question and we embed it. So for anyone not familiar, that means basically generating a large vector that allows us to basically search for similar phrases. So we perform this search on our database of embeddings and see if there's any similar questions. And so the final step at that point is to send the results of these questions and the user's question to GPT to basically answer it as best as it can. And yeah, same thing for when it generates a plot, that is basically that an embedding search told it that it should generate a plot.
Yeah, so well, it's a good answer. I mean, to cut it short, currently we're not using fine tuning. We're concentrating on the embedding. So it's very much about getting good embedding so it knows what we're talking about. It really involves a kind of art of giving it the right information. So there's this sort of prompt engineering is a very important component of it. So it's a combination of a very advanced prompt engineering and embeddings. One reason we haven't used fine-tuning yet is it's incredibly expensive to run the fine-tuning just now. But in the future, we will certainly be making a fine-tuned model, mainly to improve the embeddings. The language part itself works pretty well. Yeah, Lucas reminded me that he used ChatGPT to, yeah, I think there's a good question here about the corpus. So no, I mean, we're using ChatGPT as the basic model. So we're building on the existing, so we build on ChatGPT in order to create our model. And it's really about learning to program it in a way that it understands football better. And so if you ask these types of questions to just ChatGPT, then first of all, it doesn't have the data. And even if you ask it to summarize the data, it doesn't really have the context to build around. So it's providing context through this embedding in order to sort of improve the ability to answer the questions. Has anyone got any players they'd like to? Oh, right. Okay, I've got one here. Do you think we've got the second division in Argentina, August?
Let's see. At least we got the first division.
So I'll have a. Now I'm not sure. Is the second division Primera Nacional? We've got 2002, 2022, and he's interested in Mario. What position does Mario Sanabria play? I need to know what position he plays in order to take him.
Winger, I think.
Okay. It's been loading a while. Do you think it's really got it?
Not sure.
Someone's really testing us with, yeah, here we go. Got some things happening. I think I accidentally restarted it. If you've got any other questions, are there other players you're interested in? We can have a look at too.
I see 11v11 has asked if we use embeddings from Voice Scout reports. And so no, we don't. We basically generate all the embeddings ourselves for basically every kind of question we wanted to be able to answer.
Yeah, it's a really good question because we did start. Sorry, now have I spelled his name wrong? Sorry, this is why I shouldn't be put in charge of this. This is why you're meant to be doing this, but August. No, Sanabria.
I couldn't find him. I was trying as well.
Okay. Has he played in Primera Nacional?
Okay, he didn't play much in 2022, so.
Okay.
He changed the player, Axel Batista.
Okay.
In the same division, I guess.
Batista. I love that you're. Yeah. Okay, so he's very strong on
pressing.
Pressing, very strong on pressing, but not right. So Batista is a player who excels in pressing and defensive actions, but is below average in most other metrics. He's weak in terms of involvement, and then there's a big list here. His weakest attribute is his provision for his teammates. I don't know. What do you think? Is that how does that line up with your experience, Francesco? Is our scout a little bit too hard on him? Let's ask him more about. His pressing then. So it's high recoveries per 90, which is the statistic that he ranks very well. Yeah. Yeah, maybe too hard, says Francesco. Any other questions? Will I try? August, will I try another? Who should I try for a player who's interesting to? Will we try Iceland?
Yeah.
Who should I look up in the Icelandic league?
Do you have the 23? You should have it.
Yeah. Yeah, got 23.
Okay. Do a striker, Atlason.
You have to spell that out for me.
ATLA. He's a striker.
Sorry, I took winger. Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Well, he's pretty good. And so you can do things like how old is he? 30 years old. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question from 11v11 soccer again. Can he targeted questions be finding the best player in a match? Right. So what we do is, and I think this is what I was trying to emphasize at the start about how this works. So what we do is we set up a system around particular questions. So we do have a match report GPT or a 12GPT analyst, and that one can answer those types of questions. So it will answer who was the best player in the match. It can answer things like, it also analyzes it can also analyze properties of the match. So were there more passes than usual? Were there more passes into the final third than usual? And so what you do is you set up a system for each individual question that you have. And then it becomes quite quick to build an app or to build a system to deliver those types of services. So if you had a map, if you have a particular match, you'd be comparing to the other players in the match. So just now we're obviously comparing to other players in the league, but you could imagine inside the match, you could have like who took the ball into the final third, and then it would rank them. And then it's just by changing the query, you can start to ask those types of questions. I've got a question from Elise Sumpter here, who seems to be worried that it's not covering women's football. And of course it covers women's football, Elise. So you can look, for example, in the Women's Super League in the UK, and I'm going to take. I did one of my favorite players, Bunny Shaw, who, this is a 2022 season. 2023 just started, so there isn't really enough data to do for the 2023 season. But she's obviously got incredible statistics, and no, she doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to try someone in Sweden then instead. I was boasting it does work for women's football, and now it doesn't seem to work. So sorry, Elise. I'll try it for Sweden instead. Maybe we haven't updated the data. I'll take midfielder, and we can take one of our favorites in Uppsala, or now she's moved on to Arsenal, and we'll see if we can summarize her. I don't know that I don't want to say we made an error there with a women's football player. I don't know if it makes more errors with women than it does with men. But we've got Cooney Cross as a midfielder, excels at creating chances for a team with a high number of expected goals created per 90. And then it goes into the more details of how she progresses the ball and so on, and then summarizes it as Cooney Cross is an exciting young midfielder with a lot of potential who can create chances and progress the ball up the pitch. 11v11 soccer was asking, finding a player that matches some criteria. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I answered the wrong question. I didn't read it clear enough. That's a really good question. I don't know, maybe it's putting you on the spot, August, but you could show our player comparison thing for that. Or do you have something, do you have that on your computer just now?
Yes, but give me a few minutes.
Okay.
We can look at that.
Maybe I'll save it for next time. I think that I think the ambition for this is that if I stop share, the ambition for this is that within the next couple of weeks we will have a version where you can compare players at least, and then in another app that we have already, which we haven't actually integrated, 12GPT, we have find similar players. So you find a player in a league, and then you can identify other players who are similar to that. So we've got the machinery that works to do that already, and it's just to really integrate the language part of that. And that's been a lot of our process, is that for a long time we have this massive platform with all types of analytic measurements and different things in it. And it's a little bit chaotic, to be honest. And I think 12GPT is a way of organizing and putting some kind of order around all of this chaos, because then you can discuss it and find out different things. So for something like that, where we already have a find similar player thing, we can basically incorporate language in it, and we can manage to talk about it. Bet GPT, yeah, we haven't we haven't done a Bet GPT, but we will certainly have a match prediction GPT, which maybe is equivalent to that, and allow you to answer the types of questions about that. Very nice question. Good. It's Friday night, so we just wanted to share that very briefly, and we've been on for about half an hour now. Wasn't too many questions. We really tested us there with the Argentinian league there, but I think we managed to answer that one. But if you do have more questions or players that you'd like to see reports on, please put them onto the 12 Twitter, and we can have a look at them and answer them from there. Have you got anything, August and Matthias, that you want to add at the end here?
Maybe just take one last question from the chat. I saw that someone was asking about US college soccer. So yes, that is included. David, if you share your screen again.
Okay, so we have. Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe I can share it.
I missed that one. And so do I go to USA?
Yeah, we currently only have the women's league. So yeah, stay there. I think if you take NCAA Pacific, then we have enough data to do some comparison there.
Okay.
No, the Pacific League.
Pacific. All right. Well, she's a very interesting player. So is there any player in particular you're interested in? The person who asked the question in the chat. Maybe they've disappeared. I was too slow answering the question. I'm afraid my knowledge of the Pacific League, the NCAA Pacific League, is quite limited. But I think this is basically, if you've got the data, you can make a report about any player in the world. And yeah, so it's quite nice. Brady is a striker who might be able to contribute as a backup, but is not suited as a starting position at this level. Okay. Good.
It's interesting, given that she seems to be quite good at finishing and poaching. But
yeah, that's true. Maybe maybe if. Yeah.
But there are not many data points for this league, so there are only 16 strikers.
When you pose a question like this, the way we've built the chat, it doesn't argue with you. It kind of provides more information, and its role really is to provide more information. She has a 100% shot conversion. That's why. So she hasn't shot that much. There's a small amount of data on which to build that. So. Hey, now we're getting some questions in. Now I threatened to go, and then everyone's asking questions, so that's good. So Jay is asking about Benjamin Sesko in the Bundesliga, and I'll have a look at that. So, Germany. What position does he play in?
He's a striker, and you have to take 2023.
So Diego had a question that I could try and yeah, I mean the match prediction GPT, I think I wouldn't use GPT technology to build a match prediction model. There's already lots of good ways of using machine learning to predict football matches, and I wouldn't actually rely on it, because the point is that when we're building something like this, we're spending a lot of time just trying to sort of shape it into talking in a reasonable way and not making ridiculous predictions. And what you would do if you set it loose on like predicting betting things is just going to sort of make things up all of the time. Now I've forgotten who I was looking at. You said striker. And
yeah, Sesko, you have to write B dot because he has like a special letter in the name.
Yeah, but I was thinking that it should be, I mean, it should be with S, shouldn't it? Oh, okay. But how do I write it?
B dot.
B dot.
Yeah, just the first.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right, his first name. I thought that was like a.
Yeah.
He hasn't played enough minutes, I think.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
Or maybe has he played a winger, or
he has only 212 minutes. So if you lower the limit, then you can get him, but it's not very reasonable to compare someone with that low.
200. So it recalculates everything when I do this. And there we go. So I have to give a word of warning whenever you take a low number of minutes like this, but over 200 minutes, we can summarize his skills. So he's a striker who's very strong in run quality, finishing and pressing. Then goes into some more detail. Overall, Sesko is a player who excels in certain areas and is capable of scoring goals, but he needs to improve in other aspects of his game to become a top-class striker. So I suppose the other aspects of the involvement, he's not so involved in involvement. But, you know, a player like this, I suppose he specializes in a particular type of role. So I don't think I would quite agree with the 12GPT assessment here, because you've got this whole row of very interesting and high-level qualities: finishing, run quality, and pressing. So I think my feeling would be that that end conclusion is a bit too harsh, given the data that we have. Great. Very nice of you to participate in this and to ask us some questions. And we might do this again, because it's been quite good fun. It's a long time since I did these Friends of Tracking things. But for now, say goodbye from myself, Matthias and August. And
Goodbye, everyone.
yeah, and thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye-bye.